phone rang at 2:17 a.m., a voice too steady for the hour, too trained to sound afraid. "Sir, your wife is in the ER. We found her with her lover." A brief stop. "You should come in." Silence pressed against my lungs. Not sorrow, not disbelief, just a kind of frozen awareness, like a hunter deciding whether to strike. The drive felt clinical. My grip didn't falter. People crack when emotions take over, but I only unravel when I feel something, and I felt nothing. The hospital lights flickered like interrogation bulbs. A doctor walked toward me. Stern face, sympathy practiced to muscle memory. "Sir, please take a seat. What you're about to witness may be disturbing." I stayed on my feet. I didn't want comfort. I wanted information. He pulled the sheet back. My wife pale, breathing. The man beside her, alive, barely, broken enough to envy the dead. The doctor leaned closer. "Can she get out of this?" I asked. His voice lowered, thick with things unspoken. "Sir, there's something else you need to be aware of." Before he could finish, another sound replayed in my mind. A shrill voice from hours earlier. "If you want to join Thanksgiving, come wash the dishes." My daughter-in-law, mocking, condescending, smug, I'd answered with one word. By the end of that day, she would see the photos. The villa in Switzerland. The property she didn't know existed. The place she swore I could never afford. 71 missed calls. Ironic. People demand respect right up until they learn who actually holds the reins. I didn't sink because of grief. I knelt because that moment cracked the world open. And clarity has always brought me to my knees so I could rise sharper. People think betrayal is loud. Glass-breaking accusations, tears. But it isn't. Betrayal murmurs long before it slices. There were signs. Late-night meetings. Whispered calls in locked bathrooms. Perfume that lasted longer than her tenderness. I pretended it was stress, exhaustion, life. But life doesn't leave marks made by someone else's mouth. She once touched me softly. Then her touch turned mechanical, routine, obligatory. Cold meals, colder rooms. Sometimes she'd look at me like I embodied a choice she regretted making. I let it unfold. Let her drown in her illusions. Because while she hid in corners, I stood in truth. And truth is patient. Truth observes. Truth waits. My daughter-in-law was cut from the same greedy cloth. Hunger disguised as moral superiority. They all assumed I was predictable, gentle, harmless. Funny thing about quiet men. We don't shatter. We calculate. We wait. And when we move, we don't announce it. I didn't confront. Emotion reveals your strategy. I gathered instead. Call logs, transaction records, a hotel booking under a name she swore she didn't know, screenshots, timestamps, location data she believed she had deleted, and then the blade to end all blades. DNA kits for our daughter. I sent them silently, waited even more silently. People forget that silence is not defeat. Silence is sharpening. At home, I made coffee, served breakfast, kept the ritual alive. She smiled, thin, artificial, weary of pretending I mattered. I returned the smile, calm enough to shake her. Sometimes she'd place a hand on my arm. A pity touch, a leftover scrap meant to maintain the illusion. Every touch felt like a hand searching my pockets. Every kiss felt like theft. Meanwhile, my daughter-in-law kept up her petty tyrant act. "You have to earn your place here." Earn? I built the entire foundation. They lived off investments they'd never heard of. Properties and places they'd only seen in glossy magazine spreads. They believed power came from volume. Power comes from knowledge. And I knew everything. Every lie was a brick. Every whispered secret was a nail. They built their own coffins. I merely waited to close them. The results arrived. DNA, call records, hotel security footage. Truth doesn't shout. It simply stands there, irrefutable. She stepped into the living room that night unaware her entire kingdom had already collapsed. I set the envelope on the table. No accusations. No raised voice. She froze, gave a shaky smile, forced a laugh. "You're acting strange." I didn't reply. Silence cuts deeper than any blade. She opened the envelope. She saw the numbers, the percentages, the evidence. Color drained from her face. Her breathing hitched. "You knew?" I knew before I had reason to suspect. That's the line between instinct and proof. She reached for my hand, a reflex from a time she believed touch could mend anything. I stepped away. Her eyes wavered, foundation cracking beautifully. The doctor's earlier statement echoed. "Sir, there's more you need to know. There always is." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I just stood there. "I don't punish betrayal," I whispered. "I reveal it." I showed her the photos of the villa, the wealth she mocked, the future she thought she dominated. Her lips trembled, a queen reduced to pleading by the accuracy of truth. Then my phone buzzed. 71 missed calls. My daughter-in-law again. Only now did they realize the hand feeding them was also the hand capable of starving them. I walked toward the door. She collapsed onto her knees the same way I had in the ER. But her fall was grief. Mine had been enlightenment. "Please don't leave." Begging flatters liars. Truth doesn't beg. Truth is quiet. I set the divorce papers beside her, signed weeks earlier. A calculated departure, perfectly timed. You traded love for leverage, I murmured. Now you have neither. I left without turning back. The night air felt clear, weightless, honest. Betrayal doesn't destroy a man. It defines him. As I drove, the hospital came into view again. The ER lights still harsh, still exposing truth in flesh and spirit. The doctor hadn't been wrong. There was something more I needed to know. I didn't lose a wife that night. I lost a mirage. And illusions only hurt when you still want them. I didn't. Some people discover the worth of loyalty. Others learn the cost of losing someone who